So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Uh, I hope I'm audible. Let's see. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes to let other people join, and then we'll continue. Right? Yeah. Another 2 minutes, and we'll start. Okay, guys. So I guess it's time we should start. Right? So, guys, very warm welcome to the webinar. Right? My name is Mishra, and I'll be taking your this WebEx session over AWS, right? So to begin with, brief introduction to myself, right? So my name is Divit Mishra, right? And I have been working in IT for around 12 years. I'm a AWS certified solutions architect, both associate and professional. And I've been working towards on AWS for the past around 5 years now, right? So coming back to the course, this WebEx session has specially been designed for audience, keeping in mind the questions that you have, right? And the queries that you feel it as to, would this course be applicable to me, or if you have any questions in your mind. So we have designed this course so that it answers all your questions and makes a path for you to go ahead and progress without any doubt in mind, right? So I'm here on behalf of ETHANS, and I would first like to thank ETHANS for giving me this opportunity to come here and have a session with you guys and to interact with you so that I can be able to share my experience with you guys, right? Okay. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to post it in the chat, right? And if in case you need to be unmuted, just put it over the chat and we'll do so, right? Okay. Okay, let me start to share my screen. Okay, I guess everyone is able to see my screen. Okay, so coming down to the course, right? What we have, we'll start with basically addressing the very first point in a slide, that who is this course actually designed for, as to what all audience are we looking at, right? So this course has specially been designed and made looking towards IT professionals, firstly, who are looking into upgrading their skill set, right? And secondly, to those people who want to move to a better job, need a better position in their career, right? This is the course which is designed for you guys, right? Another aspect of professionals that we are targeting via this program is the freshers who come into the market, right? So as we'll go down the course, we'll introduce you to any of the prerequisites that you have questions in your mind. But for now, this program is designed for people, firstly, who are looking for upgrading of skill, right? Secondly, it is for those people who are interested in moving towards a better opening into the market, better job opportunity, right? And build their career in next generation technology, right? Okay. So again, I'll repeat myself. If you have any question, queries, or doubt, please feel free to post questions and I will answer it one by one. Okay. Now, having stated that who this course is actually focused towards and targeting what kind of audience, right? Whenever we come into a situation where we feel that, boss, we need to join a new technology or we need to learn a new technology and move towards a better future or better career into something new, we have certain queries, questions, and doubts. Now, with regards to AWS, there are a few basic questions which everyone, mostly everyone in the who have joined the webinar would be having, and those questions, as you could see, is right before you, right? So the very first question being, what is cloud, right? Why was this technology named as cloud? What is so intriguing about this new technology, right? So to answer the question as to what is cloud or why this service was named as cloud, right? We need to go back the memory lane as to the time when this service was founded. So we'll go back to the time in like 2008 when AWS, Amazon came up with a solution that, boss, we can leverage our systems online, and that technology we would come to be named as cloud. So why only, sir, why only was it named as cloud? The primary reason being the aspect or the scope of the technology, right? Just as cloud is big enough to fill a glass of water, as well as it can water hectares and hectares of land, and it is available all around the globe. Similarly, the Amazon guys were looking onto building a service or a technology, firstly, which is universal, can be accessed from anywhere, and secondly, a service which is not only useful to meet a need of a individual in person, but also meets the need of the entire IT industry all around the globe uniformly. So that is why they named it cloud, and that is what a cloud is, right? Coming on to the next question on that we can see in a screen right now is, okay, I know what cloud is, right? Okay, I know what cloud is, but why should we go for cloud, right? Why did the IT industry decided that it should move towards cloud? What was there no other option available in the market, or what was the primary reason, right? So to answer this question again, we will go back to the time, right? Before cloud, there was a technology by the name of virtualization. As many of you would experience, people would have known, there was a technology which was known by the name of VMware. There was a service provider by the name of VMware which used to provide you virtual machines, right? Sir, if there were virtual machines, why did the people or the industry feel the need to move towards cloud, right? So the need was actually that VMware was scalable. By scalable, I mean that if suppose you have a system which had one core, 2 GB of RAM, and around 50 GB of storage, if you felt a need in any point of time that boss, I now need to scale it up, I need to go from 2 GB of RAM to 4 GB of RAM. That was quite possible in VMware, right? Secondly, if you wanted to move from 4 GB to 8 GB, then 8 GB to 10 GB, and similarly in storage from 100 to 200 GB, 200 to 400, 400 to 1 TB, 2 TB, 3 TB, whatever you wanted to scale in, it was quite possible. Then what was the need for us to go for cloud, right? The game changer decision came once everybody wanted to scale down. So VMware did not allow you to scale down. The only option that VMware provided you was to scale up. In If anybody wished to scale down, they would have to face a downtime and the loss of data. So once cloud was being designed for the IT industry, it was kept in mind that it should overcome the primary shortcoming of the virtualization technology, which was scalability. So how cloud is different from VMware? The simple difference being is VMware is scalable, whereas the virtualization was scalable, whereas cloud is flexible. Now, so what is the difference? Both the terms scalable and flexible seem quite relevant and similar to me, right? How is it different? What difference does it make, right? So coming on to the difference between scalable and flexible is that scalability means you can go up, you can scale in, but you cannot scale down. Whereas once we come towards cloud and we are talking about AWS, right? It is not only scalable, it is also flexible. That means you can go from 100 GB to 200 GB, 200 GB to 400 GB and to a TB, and then you can scale down without any downtime. There is absolutely no downtime when you both scale in and scale out, right? Okay, so anybody has any question, queries or doubts till this point? Any clarification anybody needs? Please feel free to post your questions and we'll be answering it one by one. Okay, so now coming on to the point as to why did we feel the need that we should be going to AWS. But before going to why should we go to AWS, right? We'll quickly use this slide on my screen to compare the difference between the cloud service provider and the virtualization and on-prem machines, right? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll quickly compare the two with the product to be named as cloud and the service to be named as on-prem hardware that we have as of now, right? Okay, so what we see here is once we are beginning a company, let's suppose you are starting a company, right? And you feel that, boss, I require a minimum 50 employees. So you need to make sure that each of your employee has a desktop, you have a data center, you have a LAN cable, table and chairs to manage it, right? So one time investment is going to be great for you. Even though you haven't started your business, but your upfront investment into money will be very big. Now comparing it to cloud, the one-time investment you require is nothing. You pay as you go ahead and consume, right? Okay, so I have a question from Reena, and it is that is microservices concept comes into this? Yes, Reena, microservices are also part of AWS trainings. I hope I have answered your question. And proceeding to the point, right, to the slide, right? So coming on to maintenance, once we had our on-prem servers and on-prem machines, right? So what happened was we were the person who were responsible for maintaining it. For example, if you had a data center and you're storing the data, the disks need to be changed every 3 years mandatorily. Why? Because due to continuous reading and writing onto the disk, they used to lose their magnetism and thereby having chances of losing your data. So the maintenance would have been a part of our concern. Now, once we are moving towards the cloud, right? Once we are moving towards the cloud, what happened was Amazon said that, boss, once we are provisioning you the infrastructure, right? We are provisioning you the cores, the CPUs, the disks, the network, the storage, and everything. We will take care of the maintenance for you. You do not have to go ahead and worry for the maintenance. So thereby taking the majority of the headache task from us, and thereby saving us lots and lots of time to focus towards the development part. Okay, now coming towards the driving part, right? So what does driving mean here? Driving means that, let's suppose you were working on on-prem, right? And you had a server provision for yourself with around 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB of hard disk, right? Now, once you have been provided a hardware, your concern would be how to install the operating system or how to install the applications on that. What if I do not need, or I do not have the expertise to go ahead and install those applications, or uh, what do we say, the operating system onto the machine, right? So in on-prem, there was a mandatory requirement as to you should be knowing it. But what if in case I do not have that expertise? So what AWS said was, even after provisioning the hardware, your operating systems and your applications installation will be whose responsibility? AWS responsibility. Okay, so I have another question from Prashant, and he asks, does AMI comes under AWS? Yes, to answer Prashant, yes, AMI comes under AWS. So for everyone, with what is AMI? AMI stands from Amazon Machine Image, right? And it comes under AWS. Perfect. Okay. Now coming on to the infrastructure space. So once we are talking about the infrastructure space, once you maintain your own data center, yes, it is going to accommodate or require lots and lots of infrastructure space. Plus, you need to look into the electricity provisioning, the air conditioning, the temperature, and the maintenance of it. But once it comes to the cloud provisioning or AWS provisioning, that infrastructure space is managed by AWS, right? So I've got a quick question for you, right? Like let's suppose we are using AWS, and we so decide to have a data center of say around 20 yeah, petabytes, right? So how big would my infrastructure space be, right? To answer that, I would say that you can access your data center which is hosted in AWS and which is of a size of as big as 20 petabyte, can be as small as your iPhone, right? You can access that from your iPhone, from the smallest screen phone which is available. Why? Because this service is browser based, and if any device which has internet and has a browser installed on it can go ahead and access it. Okay, so I have a question from Prashant, and he says that I'm going to move to class 12th, so can I pursue AWS? Okay, so now this is a very intriguing question, and this is a very unique question as to how young can I be, or how uh, early can I be in my career to go ahead and use AWS or to learn AWS, right? So to answer that, Prashant, I would say that there is absolutely no prerequisites to learn AWS on the first hand. Why? Because AWS is a platform provider, right? Anything or any new technology that you want to learn will require a new platform to run itself on, and that platform would be provided by AWS, right? So hence there is no what can we say, prerequisite or any earlier knowledge that you need to have, or any experience that you need to have to learn these technologies. It is openly accessible for everyone who wishes to learn it, and I hope this answers your question. Yeah. Now, coming on to the part of lifelessness, right? What is lifelessness? Lifelessness means that suppose we were using VMware, right? And we had our own data center, our own disks on which our data was stored and was reproduced from there. So what happens is, every 3 years, due to continuous use, wear and tear of the hardware, the disk starts to lose its magnetism, right? And thereby you might have chances that you might lose your data stored in it, which can be of a very high impact for your business, right? So once we are talking about AWS, AWS ensures that all the hardwares which are provisioned by AWS is continuously monitored, replaced, and provided as a new uh, hardware to you without any downtime. So you do not have to worry about the lifelessness. Or for another instance, let's suppose you are using a laptop, right? You go ahead in the market and you buy a machine with the latest processor, which is Intel i5 8th generation processor. 2 years down the lane, there is a new Intel i5 processor, which is of the 10th generation or 11th generation, right? So now, if you want to change it in legacy environment, what do you have to do? You would have to pay for it, right? But once we are talking about AWS, AWS guarantees that, boss, whichever is the latest generation of hardware that we are provisioning to you, as soon as it gets old or there is another new generation of the hardware in the market, we are going to provide it to you without any extra fee. The hardware is absolutely going to be free for you. So therefore, providing us lifeless hardwares and ensuring that our performance is up to the market and up to the scale, and we do not get any performance lag, right? Coming to the part of scalability, I have already told you before that VM, as compared to legacy, AWS was not only scalable but also it was flexible, right? Anybody has any query till this point? If so, then please feel free to post your questions in the question area, and I'll be more than happy to answer it. Right? Okay. Coming on to this next slide, which says why should we go for cloud? So, as I have already told you, the biggest reason to move to cloud was, firstly, it was scalable, it was flexible as compared to the other cloud service providers, which were only scalable, right? The other benefit was from the benefit from massive economies of scale. So what would this mean? Massive economies of scale, which means the more you start to consume, the more you start to pay less. The more you consume, the lesser the amount or lesser the bill starts to be on AWS, right? The next point is stop guessing capacity. So what is that, Divit? What is that? So to answer this, let's take a very lively example, and that is, let's suppose you are having a laptop, right? And that laptop, okay, I have one more question. Okay. So there's a question by Siddharth, and he asks, how is AWS more better than Google Cloud? Okay, so Siddharth, I would just request you to wait for a couple of more minutes, and I'll be coming to this point, right? Please ensure to remind me again if I miss this, but I'll be coming to your question in not more than 5 minutes from now. Correct? Okay. Okay. So coming to the part of stop guessing capacity. So I was giving you a scenario like, let's suppose you have a desktop for yourself and it has 500 GB of storage, right? And over the year, in about 1 year or 2 years, you feel that, boss, I have filled in the memory, right? I have filled in the entire storage and now I want to expand. So what you do is you go ahead and search online on Flipkart that, boss, I need a 1 TB hard disk, and it is quoted to be somewhere around 4,500 to 5,000. Now once you are selecting any, it gives you a comparison that, boss, your 1 TB hard disk was for 4,800 and you are getting another 2 TB hard disk for 5,200. Now you're confused. That MRP on it confused you as to what should be my capacity, or if I will go ahead and fill that another 1 TB of hard disk, right? So AWS came up with a very unique solution to this. So what solution they provide? It was stop guessing capacity. So what AWS did was, AWS said provisioning of storage will be of no charge to you. The only charge that we are going to provide you is for the usage of the storage that you are using. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Could you make it more clear to us? So it means that AWS provides you a single disk of 64 petabyte, right? Which is absolutely free for you to go ahead and use. Now, how much is 64 petabyte? 1 TB is 1024 GB, and 1 petabyte is 1024 TBs, and AWS provides you 64 petabyte of storage for free. So when do we start to pay? If suppose in 64 TB of petabyte of disk you save 1 GB of data, so your charge will only be for that 1 GB of data that you have stored. So this not only ensures that you are tension free or you are relaxed from the headache of what will be or the headache of if I'm going to run out of disk storage or my performance is going to be impacted, but it also helps you relax in the billing concept. Okay, coming on to the part of increased speed and agility. So to prove this point, I would just state a fact from AWS that it takes 45 seconds for AWS to go ahead and provisioning you a Linux machine which is up and running for you. Even if you boot your latest desktops or laptops running on highest configuration of hardwares, it will take more than a minute's time to be up and running, and AWS ensures that you can go ahead and use your Linux machine in not more than 45 seconds. Amazingly fast and agile. Now coming to the part of go global in minutes. It means that once you're using AWS services and you host your application, your data center into it, you have the ability to be accessible to the entire globe within a minutes or a couple of minutes time. And then the next part is stop spending money on running and maintaining data centers. As I have told you in the previous slide, right? Let me just quickly go to the previous slide, and it says coming to the part of maintenance, right? As I have already told you that maintenance in cloud or in AWS is being taken care by the cloud service provider, which is Amazon for our case, and thereby taking your overhead maintenance head charge from you. Okay. Okay. Now coming back to our core to our previous slide, right? And it would be the question was raised by Siddharth, I guess, right? So Siddharth, coming on to answering your question as to why is AWS better than Google, or that instance, why is AWS better than Amazon, or sorry, not Amazon, but Azure, right? So we'll quickly compare a few facts, right? Okay, so let's compare Microsoft Azure with AWS and Google Cloud. So did Amazon have its own operating system? No. Did Microsoft have its own operating system? Yes. Okay. Now, did Microsoft have its own database, which was MS SQL? Did Amazon have its own database? No, it did not have it. Did Microsoft have its own programming language? To which the answer is yes. C sharp is the answer to it, right? And did AWS have it? No, AWS did not have it. And did Microsoft have its own IDE, right? So Visual Studio is the answer to it. Did Amazon have it? No. So how come a company which was core into IT, provisioning you operating system, provisioning you database, coding language, and IDEs, is not able to take over the market shares from a company which was just selling books, right? So the answer to this is that Microsoft, what happened was Microsoft had a favorite child, and that favorite child was Microsoft products. For example, use Windows Server, use Visual Studio for as IDE, and we'll give you all the packages built in. Use MS SQL, and we'll give you license for free. Now, what if any other service, any other language coder used to come to Azure? It felt like they were not mostly focused towards the other IDEs. So, and coming to AWS, since AWS did not have any such favoritism or any of its such product to focus on, what it did was it told us come with any requirement that you have, and we will make sure that it is catered to. That is how AWS is better than any of its other cloud service provider, right? Coming on to the fact that we mostly would have heard or read it somewhere that in the news that that Amazon or Azure that Azure is fast catching up with AWS's business, right? But even till date, after 4.5 years of work experience in AWS, I have noticed that 50% of the cloud business is owned by AWS. And in the other 50%, there are technical giants like Microsoft, Google, Oracle, Alibaba Cloud, and all the other cloud service providers, right? So that is how Amazon is better than the others. Okay, okay, so we have another question by Rohit, and he's stating that so overall AWS defeats VMware in terms of flexibility only. Okay, so Rohit, to answer that, no, AWS does not only defeat VMware in terms of flexibility only, in terms of security, in terms of cost optimization, in terms of maintenance. These are the various what can we can say as parameters in which AWS defeats VMware. So you'll have another question immediately. Then why did you only focus towards flexibility? Because that was the primary reason why VMware or virtualization was taken aback by cloud. And I hope it answers your question. And so we have another question from Sonal, and she is asking as to which is more promising as a future, especially if someone is from ETL background, I guess, Sonal. So now coming on to your point, Sonal, I would answer it in the coming slides. I have one slide to address that as well, right? So I would just request you to be a bit patient, and I will come and answer your question. Perfect. Okay. Now coming down to the slides, right? I will gently scroll down. And let's come to why AWS, Divit. Why should we go ahead and use AWS? Apart from the comparison that I did, let's go ahead and see what this slide has to say, right? So AWS offers you low cost, right? By low cost, so Divit, is it cheaper than Azure? Yes, it is cheaper than Azure because what Azure does is Azure charges you for the infrastructure that you run for every minute, and Amazon charges you for every second that it is running. So it is hereby very cheap. We have another question from Hemant Kumar, and he's asking that are we also going to cover different career paths related to AWS in this? Yes, Hemant, we'll be covering different aspects, right? And to answer you in more detail, I would request you to kindly wait till I guess the conclusion of our demo, and there's when I'll answer your question, right? Perfect. Okay. Then agility and instant elasticity. Now you see it is clearly mentioned over here that agility and instant elasticity is the primary or one of the added benefits that you get with only AWS, right? So with agility you have explained, and instant elasticity you have explained that what they actually do. But could you just go ahead and tell us which service does AWS use for this? So AWS uses a service by the name of auto scaling, which takes care of agility and instant elasticity in your hardware provisioning. Okay, okay, I have another question from Anmol. For going AWS, because I'm confused, someone say Linux is mandatory before AWS, some saying Linux is required. Okay, okay. So let me quickly answer Anmol's question. So Anmol, we do not require any prerequisites for learning AWS. As I have stated before, I'm stating it again. We do not require any, what do we say, prerequisites for learning AWS. Why? Because AWS is a platform, right? And once we are learning a platform, that means it is a prerequisite for other technologies to come. Just to make a relevance or to give you an example, let's take an example of DevOps, CI/CD. You would have heard of Jenkins, Ansible, right? So for these tools to run itself or get installed, they will have a prerequisite of a hardware platform that will be provided by AWS, right? Then let's take example of code development, right? Once you develop a code and it needs to be deployed on a hardware, that hardware provisioning would be done, or the infrastructure provisioning would be done from AWS point of view. So you absolutely do not require any prerequisite, whether be it Linux or programming language or networking or storage, right? Okay. Now it leads me to another question, right? It leads me to another question that what if I have prior knowledge to these things? So if you have any prior knowledge, right, you would always have a benefit of using your knowledge into AWS. But in case you do not have it, it is a perfect blend of new technology to go ahead and start your career, right? Okay. And then I have Abhimanyu for developer. Which one path is better? Okay, Abhimanyu. So I will come and answer your question once I'm answering Hemant's question, because both of your questions are quite same. As to, he was asking which career path he should be taking, and yours will be covered under the certification part. So I would just request Abhimanyu and Hemant to be wait till, I guess, the end of the slide. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, then Girish has to ask me, does AWS offer IaaS, PaaS as well as SaaS? So to answer you, Girish, once we are talking about IaaS, infrastructure as a service, PaaS, platform as a service, SaaS, software as a service, yes, AWS offers you all these services in AWS. And yes, our course is designed in such a way that you will get to learn all of these all these types of services in a curriculum. Perfect. Now let's come to security. Okay. So AWS provides you 9 different layers of added security, which were earlier not present into our on-prem, and we would have to set that up manually. But AWS takes care of those security parameter by itself, right? The next question is durability. Okay. So coming on to the part of durability, now what my question would have been to you is, what do you understand by the term durability, right? So durability means that, boss, if suppose I have a hardware on which my operating system was running and my application was running, and due to certain circumstances my hardware was shut down, or my hardware has some trouble, for example the disk went old and it cannot read the data. So now once I spin that hardware again, reboot it, will my application be available on the same hardware again? So that was what durability is. And AWS offers you 11 nines of durability, which means 99.9999999% of durability, which means that over a period of 100 years, there might be an instance of 1 second where your data might not be durable, which is very, very, very small, right? Okay. Then the next point is open and flexible. As I have mentioned earlier, that AWS was open to any programming language, any database, or any such IDEs to work upon itself. Thereby, it means that it is very open and very flexible. Scalability would be again explained in elasticity and agility. Now, the next part is supports hybrid model. Now, this is something that everybody would be interested to know as to why or what is a hybrid model, right? So to answer this, I'll explain to you guys a scenario in which what happened was the earlier client, what they were hesitant was, they said, boss, if you want to move my applications to cloud, I am perfectly fine with it. You can take my application and you can host it on your cloud provider, right? But the issue that the clients were having was that was the data that I am having, which is their database. It is very important to them, and their data is what gets them money, and they do not want it to be hosted anywhere outside their premise, right? So what AWS offered was that, boss, if you wish, so I will provide you a solution where your application can be hosted in cloud and your database could be kept at your own premise, and we can connect both. So this provisioning was a blend of both on premise and cloud, and hence it was known as the hybrid model. Okay. Okay, for going to AWS, I have a question from Anmol for going to AWS because I am confused. Some say Linux. Okay, that has been answered. Just let me see who has raised a question. Okay, so I have a question from Abhimanyu that as I have seen RDS don't have XE edition. So yes, Abhimanyu, it does not have XE edition till now. It might be coming up in future from a new rollout from Amazon. Okay, now coming on to the data transfer, right? So what happens is that we feel that boss, once we are moving from on-premise to AWS, right? So how complex will be your data transfer? How much complexity it is going to involve to move my data from on-premise to AWS? So to answer that, data transfer can be simply done with a simple lift and shift into AWS. You can copy and you can paste it, and your data would be started to be transferred from your on-premise to AWS. But you would require to configure the channel through which this transfer would have happened. But the data transfer is as simple as a copy and paste, right? The next point and the last point which says is integration or integrated. So what does that mean? So integrated means that, let's suppose there are different tools, different technologies which are running in parallel in our IT industry. For example, DevOps, for example, new IDEs or programming languages which are coming, right? So how integrated is AWS with them? So AWS, what it guarantees is that any new tool or any new service which comes into the market, they have designed their tool or their application in such a way that it is compatible with AWS, and the service can be called from their tool or from their application as an inbuilt package. Since AWS is the leading cloud service provider, it is one of the added benefits over Azure and Google Cloud. And okay, so Anoop Sharma has a question for me which says, is it completely far from programming platform? No, it is not completely far from programming platform. It completely depends on what role you are switching into, right? For example, let's suppose you are looking as a developer and you are a coder and you feel that, boss, so whatever I've been listening in the training is completely irrelevant to my coding experience. So let me elaborate that case for you. Is like, let's suppose you are a developer right now and you are developing an application which needs to be deployed onto the server via a DevOps engineer through a code pipeline, right? So now these type of codes are known as cloud compatible code, right? That you need some twist and tricks into the code and it will run itself on the cloud infrastructure as well. Now what happens is, once you are moving towards cloud, what the code that you will be writing is no longer going to be a cloud compatible code, but it will be a cloud ready code. Now, what is the difference between cloud compatible and cloud ready code? Is that cloud ready code does not require a manual intervention. As soon as the code is built, it is going to provision itself the infrastructure that is required. It is going to build itself the pipeline to deploy it, and then get deployed and notify the end users that, boss, the application is up and running. So Anoop, it is not completely far from the programming platform. I hope I answer your question. Then, then I have a question from Ashish Pawar asking me that after completing AWS, what need to be done next, DevOps or any career path? So Ashish, to answer that, I would say that it completely depends on to what platform you choose, and what platform you would choose. My suggestion would be to not go ahead and decide it from the beginning of the course, right? But to decide it at the end of the course. Why? Because the course is designed in such a way that it is not specific to only development or only infrastructure provisioning or only storage provisioning or networking or DevOps, but it is designed in such a way that it covers all the aspect of IT, right? So if you come with a preconceived mind that boss, I only need to learn about DevOps, or I only need to learn about the coding part or the developer tool, and then I'm done, then what I'll say is that you're going to miss the better part of AWS, right? So I would suggest that that can be decided once the course is over, right? And then Prashant has asked me another question. What would be the situation of AWS down the line, like 5 years ahead? Okay. So right now, Prashant, to answer this, there are not many cloud experts in the market. As you all would be knowing that AWS was formally launched into the market in the year 2016, and it has only been 4 years, and therefore there are not many cloud experts in the market, right? So if you join now and you learn AWS and you go ahead and invest your time into AWS, down the line in 5 years, when the market requires an expert, you would have had 5 years of expertise knowledge. And therefore, you will still be relevant to the market and you will be still in demand. I hope Prashant and Ashish, I have answered your question. Going to the next slide, right? So what fields of services does AWS work, right? So AWS works on website, DevOps, high performance computing, backup and recovery, big data, Internet of Things, mobile services, gaming, content delivery, right? And the domain in which AWS is financial domain, digital marketing, media, entertainment, education, non-profit organizations, government, healthcare, and enterprise. So I guess everybody would be relevant to one or the other service domain, and to more than and to the classification of services into subcategories. Everyone would find their service in this list. Okay, going to the next slide. Now coming to the certification point, and let me just quickly explain you this. So AWS has to offer you three broad categories of certification. The entry level is associate level, followed by professional level, and then specialist level. Okay. So coming on to the associate level, once we are talking about ETHANS, we are going to cover the syllabus of solutions architect certification in our course. So what if sir, I only want to learn sysops, or I am focusing only towards the sysops certification, or I only want to focus on AWS developer certification, right? So what happens is the AWS SysOps certification has some around 7 to 9 services in it. You add another 7 services into it and it counts for developer, and you add another 8 service into it, into the complete package of sysops plus developer, counts for the solutions architect syllabus, right? So once we are having, or we are covering the solutions architect syllabus, that not only means that sysops is covered and developer is covered, it also means that you learn extra services which count in for the solutions architect syllabus. And thereby you can aim for any of the three service, any of the three certification, or all of the three certification after you have done your trainings in ETHANS. Okay. Now coming on to the professional level has solutions architect and DevOps, and specialist has network security and big data, right? So, sir, I have a question as to if I can directly appear for professional solution architect. So for professional architect certification, there is a prerequisite that you should have had worked on AWS for a minimum period of 1 year. But AWS associate level does not have any such prerequisite. So that is why we encourage people to start from associate level solution architect certification. Right. Now coming to the questions again, I had to answer two questions, one from Hemant and where would I find it? Okay. So where is Hemant's question? Hemant, if you could post your question again, so I would be more than happy to answer that question. Okay. So coming to the program, that Divit, what we see is Yeah, so I have the question again. So Hemant is, are we also going to cover different career paths related to AWS in this demo? So once we are talking about different career paths, Hemant, there are a wide variety of career paths. As in broadly, you can divide it into the cloud governance, then cloud operations engineer, and then we can divide it in, then further classification into cloud migration engineer, right? Now each of these categories will have further subdivision into team lead, project manager, and then cloud ops engineer or storage network engineer, and each of these will have further subdivisions. So I guess once we are talking about our course, it is going to include each of these individual what do we say aspects of your career. Okay, then I have a bunch of questions to answer. Let me go one by one then. Okay, Hemant's question I have answered. Then I have Reena's question. Can we directly do associate skipping solution architect? Can we directly do associate skipping solution architect solution? Reena, I did not actually get your questions. If you could reframe it, right? And then Anup is asking, as I do not have interest in programming, so can I go ahead? Yes, Anup, you can absolutely go ahead. You have options like you have a DevOps engineer, you have a system admin, you have an ITA engineer position which do not require any programming background. So Reena has posted the question, associate developer skipping solution architect. So yes, Reena, you can directly jump to solution architect. You can skip sysops, you can skip developer, and you can directly jump to the solutions architect certification. There is absolutely no requirement to do it one by one. You can directly jump onto the solutions architect, right? I guess, Reena, I have answered your question clearly. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So coming back to a slide, right? So what we have seen is that we have gone through the course, we have gone through this what do we say, the slides that you have shown us. We know why AWS, what is cloud, and everything, right? Now let's come back to the training part, right? Once we are interested in trainings, there are hundreds of institutes out there which are giving you the trainings, right? What is so special about ETHANS that we need to look into it, or that we should be enrolling ourselves into ETHANS training for AWS, right? So what happens is, let's take the scenario of the market right now, right? So what happens is that in the market right now, the majority of the job is for cloud experts or for the cloud engineers is that of migration. That legacy has been migrated to AWS. That is what the majority of the market of cloud industry is right now, right? So once we are talking about migration into cloud, right? If you only know about cloud, you know 50% of your job, right? Because why? Because you also need to know what legacy is and how that legacy fits into AWS or into that cloud service provider. So we at Athens not only go ahead and teach you AWS, we first give you a very descriptive background as to how legacy used to work, how and what were the shortcomings of the legacy infrastructure, and then why did AWS start to move it, and which AWS service best suits it. So now you not only know AWS, but also you are fully equipped with the knowledge of on-premise in knowledge, and thereby you can provide solutions, you can provide designs which are firstly cost efficient, secondly are high performance, and thirdly are state of the art architectures. This kind of training is provided at Athens, right? Coming to the other point is that will it include only theory part? To answer that, no. 75% of our training is practical based. So why do we, or why have we given so much importance to why have we given so much importance to practical? It's because the scenario which you are going to face after the exam or after you have done the certification and you're looking for a job. So once you're going for an interview, the first question that would be asked to you is that, boss, uh, what are your day-to-day activities on cloud, because they expect you to have knowledge on cloud and that you would have worked on cloud, right? So since you are not experienced in cloud, you would be stuck at that question, right? So to answer that question, what we do is we make you do practicals, and those are not AWS practicals. Those practicals are what I have and what the experienced faculty in ETHANS have based in their day-to-day office scenario, whatever activity we used to do and what we are doing in everyday office work. That is what we have incorporated in our trainings, so that you are ready to answer that question, and you know what you have done and what is being done in the industry, in the offices, so that you can answer the questions, right? It not only helps you get ready for your interviews, but it also helps you get ready for the job that you are looking after learning AWS from Ethan. Okay, so I have another question from Hemant, and he asks, I am from testing background. How would this course help me in enhancing career prospect? I have 12 years of experience into testing. Okay, so Hemant, for taking your example and taking your question into consideration, you have been right now been doing testing for the application and how its performance is, right? So once you learn AWS, the type of testing that you would be doing is, first you will be testing how the infrastructure has been provided by AWS, right? Because you would be working on applications which have cloud ready code. By cloud ready code, I mean that in that code is going to first deploy the infrastructure. So before testing the application, you would have to test the AWS environment which it had made. You have to do its security and vulnerability testing, right? And thereafter you are going to test the application. Therefore, if you do not have knowledge of AWS, your expertise in testing will be limited to only application. Once you are learning AWS, it is going to ensure that you are not only testing the AWS infrastructure, but also the application side by side, and thereby giving you an upper hand over the other testers in the market and utilizing your 12 years of experience into AWS. Okay, so I have answered Hemant's question. And then I have question from Sonal. What roles and responsibility would be there after taking associate certification? So Sonal, it completely the roles and responsibility completely depends on what position you have been assigned in the new company and how many years of experience you would have. So to answer that question, we would what we do is, once the training is completed, we have a one-on-one session with every associate in our institute. We sit with you, we look at your experience, right? And we take your resume and we help craft your resume in such a way that you get to choose a path for yourself in AWS and for your career ahead, right? So for that, one-on-one session in a classroom is required. Then so we have a question with from Prashant again. If someone is from finance background, would AWS course help? So Prashant, to question, I will just come back to you in a while, right? And okay, so Siddharth has another request for me that please help us in understanding the details about certifications courses, like some brief about solutions architect and all. Okay, so let's go back and answer Siddharth's question first. So Siddharth, coming back to the solutions architect certification over here, and to give you a description of what we are going to look into and what we are going to take care of in the solutions architect training is that, so first let us cover what kind of service or what platform of service we are going to cover inside this. So we are going to firstly cover infrastructure provisioning, then we are going to cover storage, then we are going to cover networking, then we are going to cover IAM. After that, we are going to cover automation.
then flexibility, then CI/CD, which is DevOps platform, and at the last we are going to cover the architecture of a cloud infrastructure. So if you would have known that there is once we are talking about the application has its own two tier, 3 tier architecture. So similarly in AWS also, or for any instance for the cloud infrastructure, we have HANFT architecture. So what does HAFT architecture means? It means high availability and fault tolerant architecture. And our course is designed in such a way that we help every associate to be proficient in designing such infrastructure diagrams which are not only HA but also FT, thereby enabling highest level of availability and durability for the application. Right. So, Siddharth, I hope that answers your question in brief. Right. So Devanshu has a question. I am from Unix background, 10 plus years experience. Which course would you suggest? Okay. So in our audience, that all the people who have joined the WebEx, if my suggestion is for people who have around 8 years of or plus years of experience to focus your career towards solutioning and consultancy. Why I am saying so? It's because you have over a decade of experience of the change. You have seen technology change, and now I want you guys to guide the new generation of associates coming in with your experience. It's no longer, as per my suggestion, would I suggest you to go ahead and work towards the implementation side. My advice will be for you to focus towards the architecture or towards the consultancy side of your career. And now Abhimanyu have asked me another question. I have 2 years experience of software development. So does I need to do AWS SysOps and DevOps and solution architect certification? So Abhimanyu, it completely depends up to you as to if you will be willing to invest your time and money into 3 certifications. Even if you do single certification as in solution architect, it will ensure that you have the knowledge of both sysops and developer in it. So Anup has to ask another question, and which is there are 200 plus services in AWS. So how many services will you teach? Okay. So Anup, once we are talking about AWS Solution Architect syllabus, we are looking towards no less than 25 services which will be covered in our training, right? And just to give you a bigger picture of it, which 25 services are you going to cover? Firstly, which are going to be a part of your solutions architect syllabus, exam syllabus. Secondly, those services on which fall under the category of free tier defined by AWS, thereby ensuring that you do not have to pay any money for your learnings in AWS, right? And thirdly, those list of services which are required by a professional or by an associate in a day-to-day activity in a company. Okay? Okay. Then Anup I have answered. Then Trupti has to ask which one shall I choose from associate level certification having. Uh, Let me just see what's written. Oh, that's Trupti. I cannot read your question after certification level having. It's just dot dot dot. So if you could pose the remaining question again. And Neeraj Prasad has to ask, I have 9 years of experience in Teradata BI and data warehousing. Will AWS consultancy and architect level be good for me? So Neeraj, I'll say you have a very good background towards data warehousing and Teradata, right? So how would AWS help you? How does AWS consultancy or architecture help you? Is that you can leverage AWS's data services, data warehousing services like Redshift, RDS, DynamoDB, Neptune towards your experience, and can continue with consultancy towards the architecture of data side. Okay. And then Neeraj has Okay, Neeraj, I have answered. Sonal is asking, I have 3 years of experience in HR recruitment and then a gap of 3 years. I don't have a IT background. Which certification do you suggest should I go for? Second, what are the job opportunities for candidates like me in the back, like my background? Third, which is the what is the cost of certification? Okay, so Sonal has asked a very good question as to what is the cost of the certification. So the cost of certification is $150, whether be it DevOps, SysOps, or solutions architect, right? Coming to the point where you have asked Sonal that which certification should you be going, I would suggest that you should go for solutions architect syllabus. Why I am emphasizing on solutions architect syllabus is because will ensure that you know maximum number of services and that AWS has tested you on it. So once you are going for an interview and there are suppose 3 people who have been finalized, right? There is a one who's solutions architect certified, one's developer certified, and one's sysops certified. The highest preference would be given to the person who has solutions architect certification, as he or she has gone through more number of services to on which AWS has tested you. So that is why I am emphasizing more towards solutions architect syllabus, but also you can also appear for developer or sysops depending on the decision that you make, right? And another question that you have posted, Sonal, is that this was what are the job opportunities for candidates like me? Okay, so Sonal, what expertise you can bring to the table is you have worked towards the HR. What you can do is you can start looking towards the what we say is the business analyst platform, where what business analysts do is they are non-technical solution engineers, where you interact with your IT, with your clients firsthand. It's not always the developers and the program managers who go ahead and interact with the clients that you get. It's the analyst whose job is to first interact with your client to get the requirement and to make him understand as to how your company can leverage the cloud solution. So I guess that is what will suit you, Sonal. Okay, Tripti, you are stating that you have a development background. Let me get back to your original question. Tripti, where's your original question? Which one shall I choose from associate level certification having development background? So again, Tripti, I would, as I have told Sonal also, that what we encourage people to look into is we encourage you guys to go ahead for solutions architect syllabus, and for that training, that certification. The reason I have told you, and I am again repeating, the highest preference is given to person who has been tested by AWS on maximum number of service, which in this case solutions architect course. So thereby I would suggest you to go ahead for a solutions architect certification. In case you feel otherwise, and in case you are okay with it, you can go with developer or sysops certification as well. Correct? Okay, then Siddharth has another question for me. Looking at the infrastructure provided by AWS, do we have anything in this course from security performance aspects which can help us in implementing a solution in architect role? Okay, so Siddharth, to answer your question, as I have told you at the end, that of all the scenarios of which the training will be given, training will also include implementation and solutioning role itself. Also, we do not specifically focus on security and performance aspects. We integrate it with all the service that we provide. We do not emphasize it at the end or in the middle, but we emphasize it on every service, as in when we cover each service, we are going to emphasize on how it provides added level of security from the on-premise, and how that it is boosting the performance aspect, right? So I guess I have answered your question, Siddharth. Let's go ahead with it. Coming back to the slide. Okay. So sir, I wanted to know as to will the trainings be classroom? Yes, 100% classroom training is guaranteed to you. Our
we have at ETHANS, we have 4 branches: Pimple, Sadagar, Kharadi, Baner in Pune, and one in Noida itself, right? So we have our weekend classes, which lasts from around 8 weeks to 9 weeks, right? And it happens on every weekend, that is Saturdays and Sundays, for 3 hours each Saturday and each Sunday, right? We are also running weekday classes also for those people who might be occupied on the weekends as well, who have this customer support, or who have production support, some implementation or some maintenance going on the weekend. So we have to offer them weekend courses as well, right? Also, a unique feature about ETHANS is that ETHANS assures you that if in case you have missed any classes, ETHANS assures that you can come to the institute and cover up those classes in our next batches. Absolutely, there is no restrictions to this activity, right? So, what if I feel like repeating the class? That repetition of class is absolutely free, and you can come in any time and you can sit in any of the batches to refresh your classes, right? Okay, another point that we do, and which is very unique from the other institutes, it's that whatever course material that we use to teach, whatever slides we use, whichever PPTs we use, whichever document we use, we make sure that we have provided that to you and shared that to you over a WhatsApp group that we create for your batch, which would be running, right? And we ensure that if in case you have any problems, you can post your questions, and our trainers will go ahead and provide you the solution to those questions and queries that you have at the earliest, right? Okay, anybody has any questions till this point? If you have, then please feel free to post it, and till then I'll continue ahead, right? Then this slide refers to the contents which makes AWS training ETHANS very, very, very different from the trainings provided from or by the other institutes. First is, whatever training we do or we give, it is project-based learning, and that learning has inbuilt architecture inside that, right? Quiz interview preparation from the day one of the lecture. We do not wait till the end of the lecture to provide you a chunk of questions for you to just go ahead and mug it up. But what we do is we take it up from day one, so that at the end of the course, you are not burdened with learning, but that you are ready for the interview, right? So, as I have mentioned, the practical sessions are between 80 to 75% within the class, and you will be handed over online practicals which you need to perform at your end, and mini projects will be given to you too. Okay, we have classroom program and a very rigorous curriculum which has been designed by the industry experts. Okay, then uh, you can go through the slide, and if you have any questions for people, you can please go ahead and post it. As the content says, we have flexible pass for travelers, which means that if due to any reason you miss any class, right, you have the right to come ahead and visit those missed lectures in any of our ongoing batches, and there is absolutely no restrictions to it. Okay, we also share with you the online content of the class which we take. Okay, so this is our course highlight, what we'll be doing in our class. These are all the offerings by ETHANS, right? So as the slide says, that there is absolutely no prerequisite for AWS. This is a platform and you do not require any prior knowledge before learning AWS. Okay, so the lab sessions are around 35 hours of labs that you will be doing. 50 plus online assessments will be handed over to you, so that once you are not at the institute, you can feel free to do as many practicals, as many lab practicals as possible to clear your doubts. And in case you have any such queries or you get stuck somewhere, you would have a WhatsApp group in which you can take the
and post it, and the trainers and the students of the class will reply back to you as soon as possible, right? And we have many projects also which are handed over to you at the end of the course. Just to inform you, we at ETHANS are APN, that is Amazon Certified Partner Network. So whenever we go ahead and provide a ETHANS certificate to you, it holds market value and you can use it in your interviews as well, right? Okay, we share with you certification questions and answers for you to prepare for future certifications to come, which will ease your learning path. Okay, okay. And as you can see, the course duration is 48 to 54 hours, depending on the classroom training program, right? It is for 8 weekends, right? Project-based architecture, I guess somebody has asked me regarding the architecture implementation. So this slide is specially made for that case, so that you know how the architecture of our training is and how we help you learn. We at ETHANS not only help you learn and to clear your certification, but we also help you build up your interview skills, prepare your resume, and help you with job openings in the market so that you can focus primarily towards your certification and towards the new job. We take the rest of the headache from you. Okay. Anybody has any question, any query, any doubt till this point, just feel free to ping me or message me in the question section. Okay, so career assistance program, which is run by ETHANS, it offers you the monthly that you get in touch with one-on-one with our IT professionals who are in our institute to help you build your resume, develop or groom you over your interview skills, and connect you to the recruiters so that you can easily be placed into new companies. So these are the upcoming batches which are going to be for AWS, and more information will be conveyed to you for the same over your messages on WhatsApp and over text message on your cell phone. Okay. Now there are some frequently asked questions that are generally asked as in I do not come from a technical background, as has been asked by me in the session as well. Then do am I eligible for this course? Absolutely yes. The course is designed very gently to take care of every aspect of practical training, and hence you can feel free that no matter which background you are, or even if you are fresher, we ensure that your learning path is good and that you get placed into the company as soon as possible, right? How do I get into the cloud profession when I have no prior experience in the field? Okay, I have a question. So let's quickly jump to the question. What are the course fees? So, Prashant, to answer that, I would have somebody from ETHANS connect with you over the same. I will not be the right person to answer that question, right? So we'll have some ETHANS professional get in touch with you regarding the course structure and course fee. Okay, which certificate change should I get? As I have no interest in programming, so I guess I have already answered that question. Okay. And anybody, if you have any question, query, doubts, these are the contact numbers, email addresses for you to connect with ETHANS Associate for questions regarding course fee, batch starting, and everything. Please have a note of it so that you can connect with the respective ETHANS professional for respective locations. Anybody has any question, queries, doubt, please feel free to ask me. I'm more than happy to help, happy to answer your questions. Okay, so do we have any infrastructure at ETHANS for practical? Okay, so to answer this question, Rahul, we will provide you internet connectivity, but you need to bring your own laptop. every other associate in ETHANS we will help him or her, we will help both of you guys to have your own or create your own AWS account in which you can go ahead and perform your own practicals, so that you do not get a foundation that once I am out of ETHANS I cannot do the practical, right? So yes, ETHANS will provide you the basic requirements of infrastructure, which is internet connectivity and guidance. Rest you would have to bring your own laptop, and rest assured we will help you in creating or setting up your own account so that you can do your own practicals even if you are not at ETHANS. Is then we have another question from Ashish. Is any prerequisite for AWS, Linux, and Python? Again, Ashish, I would repeat myself again that we do not we do not have any prerequisites for AWS. It is a platform and it does not have any prerequisites. Any prior knowledge to it will be helpful for you, but if in case you do not have any such knowledge from before, we will help you from the scratch itself. Okay, what if I don't have a laptop, so can I join the course? Okay, so in that case, Prashant, we would have to check if we have a spare infrastructure or laptop for you to be provided to you so that you can go ahead and learn. That can be addressed at the time or directly at the institute only. Okay, so Rahul asks me any learning material, hard copy or soft copy. So, okay, to answer you, this is a good question that mostly would be concerned with this question is with the answer is that, so Rahul, we ensure that we provide you all the learning materials we have with us, right? So what happens is ETHANS itself has a AWS workbook in which we have made sure to have inculcated all the conceptual knowledge or what I can say is all the theoretical knowledge that you require in a booklet, and which is written in a very simple English so that each one of us can understand it. Moreover, all the slides that we use for trainings, right, that will be shared to you as it is. We do not maintain any secrecy from our students at ETHANS. We feel that whatever we are using for teaching, that same hard copy or soft copy is shared with the professional immediately as we cover it in the class. Right. Also, we have some GitHub repositories in which we have certain automations which we go ahead and keep on introducing you to, so that you can go ahead and use it in your organization for better what we can say is to just to help you with your career ahead. Any other question, any other query, anyone? So I guess everybody has noted the cell phone number or the contact options for the respective branch, right? And if you have any queries, we've got a couple of more minutes, and I am happy to answer that question, all the questions and queries for you. So it seems no other question. Then I'll say we are okay. We have a question. Good. So this question comes from Rina. So, in which technology language mini project would be based on? So, the mini project will be completely based on AWS. It will not be into any language. It will only be related to AWS implementation, infrastructure provisioning, automation, architectural, and designing. So Rahul has to ask who will be the faculty for weekend batch. So Rahul, it completely depends which branch you would be choosing or which location you will be joining, and upon the availability of the trainer that you would get to know which trainer would be there, so that you can further ask questions from the ETHANS professionals on the contact number that has been shared with you. You can get in touch with us for a confirmed information regarding that question. Any other question, queries, or doubts? Yes, we have a question. Okay, so let's go ahead and see. Okay, just give me a minute. So post completion of the training, will there be an individual judgment? Is the individual now prepared for the certification? Yes, we have that. We have that, Siddharth. So what happens is we regularly keep on taking your tests or assignments, right? And we always keep on giving you the feedback as to how you would have performed and how better you can or how you can improve your performance. So yes, that happens every now and then.
Okay, so hey guys, this is Jatin. So if we don't have anything, I think we should wrap up the session. Just to keep you informed that I will be sending you the PPT which we have used in today's class along with the syllabus. What a lot of people I have seen that have the question into their mind. Along with that, we have arranged the free process for DevOps and Microsoft Azure today itself. So I share the link of these two demonstration class. So if you're interested, you can join that because I have seen a lot of questions here coming up to understand what is the difference between Microsoft Azure as well as AWS. So for addressing such kind of a questions, we have a separate demonstration class, so you can look into it. Okay, so if you don't have any questions from me or Divit, I think we should wrap up for today. And I'm really excited to see the response which we have received from a student in multiple demonstration classes online. This is the first time we have arranged them. So quite fascinating for me as well as for the trainer. So if you have any questions, I drop you an email. You can just reply me back. Otherwise, we have a details available over there in slides for each and every branch. You can contact them freely. And if you have any kind of a questions, don't hesitate to ask us directly. Okay, so that's a end note from my side. Anything, Divit, you have?
No, Jatin, just I would like to thank you for letting me this opportunity to interact with them, right? And I guess no more new questions, so I guess we are all good to go ahead and wrap up, right?
That's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I just wish everyone a best of luck, and let's see you in future. Yeah,
thank you so much, David. Thanks.
yeah, yeah. Chalo guys, bye bye.